I think you're really going to like this one. Lara Trump. Lara Trump is a daughter-in-law of Donald Trump's. I guess she must be married to Eric Trump because Don Jr. is divorced and dating one of the former Fox News ladies, I believe. In any case, Lara Trump goes on Fox News. She goes on Fox News to be interviewed about the Trump-Syria Kurds fiasco. Now, before we even look at what she said, why would you interview not even the son of Trump or the daughter of Trump, but Trump's kid's wife about Syria when her background has nothing to do with anything that would make her have an informed position on Syria? Her background is a story producer on television. I don't know why you interview Lara Trump about Syria to begin with, but let's not focus on that right now because that'll get us off track. Okay, Fox News says we have to have Lara Trump on and talk to her about Syria and the Kurds. Okay. Lara Trump defends Donald Trump's harebrained and completely disastrous actions in Syria by saying effectively, the average American is ignorant. So there. She explains that, listen, most Americans don't even know who the Kurds are. Trump was right, which if you understand not even formal logic, but just in a colloquial sense, how you put an argument together, doesn't really compute as an argument. Check out the video and imagine the dystopia we're living in, where number one, the president's daughter-in-law is making a political analysis of what's going on in the Middle East, despite it having nothing to do whatsoever with her background or area of expertise. And imagine that it counts as political analysis to defend a policy by saying there are lots of ignorant Americans.
And given an unanticipated victory to four American adversaries, Russia, Iran, the Syrian government, and the Islamic State. Your response tonight?
Well, Shannon, I think we should start with the fact that if you ask the average American out there, I think they would have to Google who are the Kurds and why is America even over there fighting this war. We were supposed to be there for 30 days. We've been there for 10 years. And when the president campaigned in 2016, he was very clear that he wanted to stop all of these endless wars, that he wanted to bring our troops back home.
That's right, Shannon. What do I think about a thoughtful piece in the New York Times seriously assessing the grave nature of what's been done here, the history, the geopolitics, and other considerations? What I think is that the average American has no idea who the Kurds are. Oh, and so then what? She also tells lies. We were supposed to be there 30 days, she says. That's not true. There was no such deadline established at the time. Now, that might have been a mistake. You can say there should have been a deadline established at the beginning, but there was no such deadline established at the beginning. She says we've been there 10 years. It's 2019. That would mean 2009. Obama first committed troops in 2015. You can disagree with the decision, but you don't get to measure time in some different way. That's 4 to 5 years ago. You could be overly charitable and say, well, the Obama decision really was linked to the coalition that first went in 2014. Like, okay, maybe you stretch it to 2014. But these are just lies. It's lie after lie after lie. And it's an example of the self-reinforcing feedback loop of ignorance that we have in this country. Understand how it works. You have rampant ignorance and a total lack of critical thinking skills. In some states like Texas, it's by design because they've decided we are not going to teach critical thinking in schools. We're not going to teach philosophy in schools. We're not going to build the base of the knowledge pyramid, as I've described it, that prepares people to really critically think about the messages that they're getting in media. So you get that. Then you get those clueless people that lack those skills brought on to do political analysis and using the fact that there are ignorant Americans to justify the terrible policies of an administration. So what is implied by Lara Trump's comment is that since many Americans don't know who the Kurds are, what? Concern about them is disingenuous concern trolling because nobody even knows who they are? Does she mean that since lots of Americans don't know who the Kurds are, you can't possibly care about people you don't personally know? I mean, sadly, that is an unfortunate reality in the American right wing. It's more than we'd like to admit. We have so many of these stories of virulently anti-gay Republicans who, once they know someone who's LGBT, a kid, a neighbor, whatever, all of a sudden they develop an empathy and an understanding for what's going on. She may actually be right as a right winger, which I guess she is, I don't know, She might be saying, I don't understand how anyone could even feign support for Kurds when they don't even know who they are, because I don't know, I never cared about anybody I didn't meet personally. Maybe that's what she means. But the message is sickening, which is if Americans don't know who the Kurds are, we can ignore that they are and have been our allies. They've helped us in the past. They've helped us fight ISIS. And Donald Trump said that was one of his top priorities, to fight and defeat ISIS. We can ignore all of that if Americans are simply ignorant to who the Kurds are. Really disturbing stuff on so many levels. Again, that this even counts as a political analysis is extraordinarily disturbing. That Lara Trump would be asked to comment about Middle East policy is laughable and maybe more of a reflection of Fox News than of anything else. And then, of course, in the end, the fact that it's a ridiculous argument. What does it matter if Americans do or don't know who the Kurds are? I pointed out on Twitter that there are hangers-on who, without knowing any of the history, are taking hyper-partisan positions on this one way or the other, and that's not particularly productive. But you don't need to personally know the Kurds in order to care about the policy that is going extremely astray by Donald Trump and coming from the White House. And again, who suggested this policy? Because it wasn't Trump's generals, it wasn't the Pentagon, it wasn't the military. We don't know exactly where or why Donald Trump came up with this idea. Let's take a quick break. We have a tremendous program for you today. Make sure that you're following me on Twitter at @dpakman. Follow the show on Twitter at David Pakman Show. And importantly, we are back on Twitch after our 24-hour ban at twitch.tv/David Pakman. Due cappucci, per favore. Grazie mille. One of our sponsors making the David Pakman Show possible is Babbel, the language learning app, and you'll get 25% off a subscription to Babbel when you click the link under this video. Babbel was founded in 2007 and now has over 1 million paying subscribers worldwide as one of the world's leading language learning apps. Their learning method has been examined numerous times in scientific studies, including one at Yale in 2019, which found that 100% of participants who used Babbel were able to improve their oral proficiency with a new language within just 3 months. Research found that users learning Spanish on Babbel only needed to use the app for an average of 15 hours over a 2-month period to cover the requirements for one college semester of Spanish. I recently went to Italy and used Babbel to brush up on my Italian for a few weeks leading up to the trip. And I was actually surprised at how much I was able to absorb in such a short amount of time. After practicing Italian on the Babbel app, I was able to hold some conversations with locals in Italy. I could understand a lot more of the Italian that I was hearing. And the progress I made was extremely inspiring in keeping me going and continuing to use the app to get even better. I'm also about to use the app to start learning German, which I'm looking forward to. I really would recommend Babbel to anyone who watches our show, and you can save 25% on a subscription to Babbel when you click the link right underneath this video.